It Yeah, the speed of it reminds me a bit more of Warcraft 3.
Yeah,
It,
that's the
it does seem a
sentiment.
little bit slow.
I think that's what the big thing that most people took away from it in the end. But yeah, exciting stuff that we were able to finally see some gameplay, and boy, hope that the game does come out in good form
very
as
much
well.
alpha.
Yeah, of course. Pre-alpha.
It's still very much an alpha, so they're gonna make a lot of changes to it, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of a lot of changes, here we are now on Babylon for the first time tonight. We're in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in this bottom right-hand corner. We have our red Zerg player coming down from the land of Korea. He's, of course, going to be representing On-Side Gaming, OSG. We have Sola.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Babylon, we have his opponent. We have the Chinese Terran player representing CranKy Gaming. It is Oliveira.
I gotta tell you, like, I thought I was used to Oliveira being called Oliveira now. But then I looked at chat and, you know, seeing people refer to Oliveira as Ollie, and I'm like, wait, Ollie plays? And I'm like, oh, you mean Paynon.
Yeah, it's weird because we know another Ollie in the StarCraft scene. You're not wrong. Yeah, I haven't quite accepted that either. It's all or nothing, mate. Oliveira, papi, Oliveira. No Ollie's here. But I guess at the same time, to be fair for like newer people in the scene, like Ollie hasn't really been involved too much in StarCraft in a long time. Like Alima League, it's been a while since that's been active. I mean, she's the big brains behind.
It's been shut down. So.
It has been shut down. She's the big brains behind the Team Liquid Star League, the TSL. To be fair,
yeah, organizes the thing, comes up with the themes as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Jealous, appreciate.
I don't know if we're getting a TSL this year though. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, we'll keep our eyes peeled on social medias, and we'll keep our ears open for any announcements going on there. But would be a shame if we didn't get one this year.
Yeah, like TSL is always so much fun, and especially now that there aren't as many restrictions on these online premier events or these major premier events either. You know, I know Home Story Cup is taking advantage of that, and hopefully TSL will as well, as we're getting into this game. And so far, nothing too crazy. It is going to be a 3cc opener here from Oliveira.
Yeah, nice and standard. Well, I say that, but we don't know if there's going to be another barracks coming out after this. But nope, it is just going to be a standard 3cc before Starport 111.
There we go. We have seen that Oliveira is willing to go for the 3cc 3cc 2-on-1 as well, but this game is not going to be whipping it out here on Babylon. Babylon can lead to more aggressive play, but Oliveira is playing this out as standard as possible here against Solar in Game 1.
Yeah, just sort of trying to suss out what Solar is up to in Game Number 1. There's obviously obviously they have played against each other many, many times, and they are both well aware that both of them are very diverse and versatile players. So Game Number 1, they're just sussing each other out and trying to figure out how they're feeling today. You know, did they wake up and choose violence, or are they calm today? And they just want to play standard.
Exactly. I mean, I'm sure Oliveira is like breathing a sigh of relief after Ragnarok. He's like, "Ooh, I get to play some StarCraft. I get to play maybe even a more standard mid game and a longer game as well against Solar." We'll see how this all does come to pass. We've been talking a lot about Oliveira and his proclivities in TvZ, but likewise, Solar is also more of a standard player.
Yeah, I got very worried for a second there. Because that third CC was built dangerously close to the main base. I thought, wait, hold up. Why is he? And I'm like, wait, no, yes.
Like he's lifting his weight, Poppy. He's crazy. Oh, never mind. Okay, so good. Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
Cramped bases here on Babylon. Yeah.
They are. As the Hellions going to be poking and prodding wherever they can, there is a safety Baneling nest on the way behind this as well. So again, Solar just making sure that everything is normal, safe, and sound. Lair being taken as we speak. A bit of a later Lair timing, but that was in favor of an earlier Baneling nest here from Solar. Oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much Sola has been able to catch in Oliveira's series against Ragnarok, but like we said, he is just playing this out as safe as possible on Babylon.
Exactly. Typically, we would be throwing down our Baneling nest now, so it's lined up with the Lair, so by the time it finishes, you get straight into Baneling speed. But we saw that he did delay the Lair in favor of the nest, so yeah, just safe stuff all around. Now we're getting into our Evo chambers. Likewise, Oliveira also getting into his own production is 5 racks on 3 bases.
And not typically one to go for mech is Oliveira, which I definitely appreciate. Seeing a couple more racks being thrown down, going for, I would say, pretty standard bio play, but I'm just keeping my eyes on the production tab and seeing if we get more axes before a 4th base here.
Yeah, exactly. He can still go into an 8 racks from here if he so chose to. You know, he hasn't taken both gas geysers at his 3rd base yet, and there's still no 4th CC, so we'll see what he decides to do with his production. For the time being, though, he's just vying for map control, poking wherever he can, looking for a way in. Has to be careful to overextend. If he does go too far into creep, then his Hellions will get surrounded.
Yeah, he is well aware of the amount of links that Sola has out in the map right now, and doesn't want to get caught off guard of that. This is the only form of map control that Oliveira has right now, is these Hellions.
Yeah, exactly. So he does have to be careful with that. Meanwhile, there we go. There's that 4th base on the way. We didn't get up into 8 Raxes, so we aren't going to be seeing any kind of major commitment out of Oliveira again. He's just kind of chilling, macroing, nothing wild from him at least. And likewise, Solar has been able to drone up to, or he's now droning up past 80, and he himself can focus on his own army as well.
Yeah, it is a very, very safe economic position to be in right now as a Zerg player. Solar's even going for a 5th base behind us, but he needs to be able to defend his 4th.
Yeah, exactly, and he was thankfully able to bring down these rocks. If the rocks were still here, he'd be in a really awkward position, but we can see that he is respreading his creep very diligently. His queens are on top of this, so even though a couple of tumors went down, Solar is quick to rebuild, and Oliveira doesn't want to commit. He does back off for now.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to commit, because that is a 4th base on the way.
Yeah, exactly. He clears out a lot of creep. He gets an Overlord for free, and can he deny this base? Oh, he doesn't want to risk it. Looks like he will pick up and get the hell out of there. There's Ling Bane in the area. Oh, and Solar has hit that critical mass of 83 drones. Now he's just making nothing but Ling Bane, and it's going to be on Solar now to be active.
A critical mass of workers.
Yeah.
That works, actually.
Yeah. There we go. As he tries to go for a bit of a Ling round by, but no, the Marines are in position. The Lings are being swatted away. At least they do scout and confirm the 4th base.
Yeah, Sola knows that Oliveira is not all in by any means, so he can feel safe enough to expand. I guess you don't really want to drone up past 83 workers, but he is well aware that he needs to keep up economically as well as militarily.
Yeah, exactly. And now he's free to start Hydra production. We've got an Infestation Bin on the way for Hive Tech. Before that happens, though, Oliveira is going to be the first to basically max out. He's pushing through the center of the map. He's not allowing the crew to be respread. At the same time, we get a full surround on the Planetary. Oh, CC.
Yeah, Oliveira forced to cancel and lift that up. It was turning into a Planetary. So it was kind of, yeah, it's Schrodinger's Planetary, you know?
Exactly. Meanwhile, ooh, the Marines are out of position, and it looks like 2 tanks are gonna get picked up.
Yeah, not in exchange for a queen, actually. Well, I guess it would have been an even trade regardless, but still it would have been something. Very nice surrounds once again coming down here from Sola. Sola doing such a good job of just multi-pronging Oliveira and making sure that he never has his whole army in one place.
Yeah, 2 tanks did go down. The 3rd tank did barely hold on as well. Behind this, Solar is transitioning into Ling Bane Hydra Lurker. The Lurker Den is on the horizon, but before that happens, he wants to engage with this army.
Yeah, but that was a little bit of a... That was definitely a much more efficient trade from the side of Oliveira than previously. Solar's now being backed into a corner. He does still have a lot of larvae and a lot of minerals. So he's building as many Lings and Banelings as possible, try to buy himself enough time to get his Lurkers out.
Yeah, this position is just too good from Oliveira though. He's laying siege upon that 3rd base. The tanks are getting closer and closer. Ling Bane does finish up just in time, but Solar is on the back foot.
Yeah, I wonder if it's fine for Solar to lose his base, but, you know, once he loses his base, Oliveira knows that he can push in and get an even stronger foothold into the neck of Solar.
Yeah, Solar, he's just waiting a little bit longer before he pulls the trigger, and there we go. He's coming in from behind as well.
Yeah, but that's a really good spread of Marines. There's no creep over here. Most of the techs have been dealt with, but there's still plenty of Marines and 0 Banelings here.
Exactly. 0 Banelings, 0 Lunkers. We do have the tank siege on forward. Oliveira had an amazing fight. Such a beautiful pre-spread as well, expecting that attack from Solar. We do have a couple more Banelings finishing up, but we have so many tanks.
Yeah, they are so well spread out and sieged up. This is Solar's final hurrah, as Oliveira should be taking game number 1 very soon.
Exactly. The Queens are falling left and right. The Hydras as well. The 3rd base has been broken, and as you were saying, once you break the 3rd, this lower base is just free pickings here for Oliveira. He's rotating over to try and take this down. Solar is attempting to muster up an army, but again, nothing is left over. He can't really stop this hatchery from going down.
Like so. Another drone!
Let's get away, Pagano! It looks like the
They're
workers
distracting the army.
It's true. Oh no!
But they do get intercepted, and every single one of them will go down. Solar wanted to save them. He saw it in his eyes. He knew he had to protect his babies.
One drone.
But he couldn't. It was a trap.
This one drone is the only survivor of the massacre that was Oliveira, and now there is no more creep threat here. The Queens, they were killed earlier, and Oliveira can just keep on pushing. He has snowballed out of control.
Yeah, a couple of Lunkers are out now, but they are vanilla Lurkers, and we do already have Liberators on the way. Actually, not that many orbital commands here from Oliveira, though. So detection could be a bit of an issue.
It really could be. This Ling counterattack is doing a lot of damage. SCVs are going down, but there are reinforcements back at home. By the time they clean this up, though, how many workers will fall? 11 SCVs. That's a pretty good amount of damage dealt there by Solar.
Yeah, he just about evens up the worker count here between himself and Oliveira. That's not his biggest priority though right now, or that's not his biggest problem. As the rest of the army of Oliveira is starting to rotate around. But a couple of tanks getting intercepted.
Yeah, and we have another Ling counterattack going towards that 3rd base, but at the same time, Solar, he can't deal with the army. That's the problem. Solar is going for all these backstabs, and he's doing a lot of counter damage, but that's the only thing he can do. He cannot push into the main army of Oliveira.
Yeah, now that this 5th base has gone down, I do think that Solar's economic backbone has kind of been broken a little bit. If Solar's going to win, he has to win right now with a big engagement.
Yeah, exactly. We do have Lurkers holding the line, but a lot of Ling Bane does go down. Oliveira just pushing himself forward here. He is going to be losing more of those SCVs. Meanwhile, these Liberators, they do overextend.
Yeah, really great yoinks coming out here, and really good use of the anti-air as well. It is only Marines left, and there are a lot of Marines, but you don't want to sim them on top of that many Lurkers. I would know. I have made that mistake many times.
Not like this, Bobby. Not like this. As yeah, Oliveira, he's down to 56 workers. His economy is in shambles right now, and Oliveira, he couldn't make use of his main army. He did end up getting his Liberators reset.
All of a sudden, things are looking a lot more even.
Yeah.
I thought this game was done and dusted here.
Even further ahead, we do have, oh my god, the Hydras are getting in position. A full medevac does get sniped.
Huge gamut here from Oliveira, and unfortunately it did not quite pay off. That was a huge pickoff here for Solar, and all of a sudden he finds himself a lot of breathing room. He's retaking a 5th base. He is, yeah, getting his economy back up and running slowly but surely. So is Oliveira, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. So these lurkers are giving Solar a lot of time. They mean that Oliveira, he can't push into the main army of Solar, but now he's the one going for harassment. He's the one going for drop play. We have a double drop towards the south, a double drop towards the north. There is no lurker here to defend. Uh-oh.
And only a handful of transfuses, and even then, that's not going to be enough to save the hatchery. Lurkers burrow way too late. Meanwhile, Solar's going for a massive counterattack. This is where all the production is.
Yeah, exactly. He wants to try to break into the main base. The Banelings are rolling on him. We have 3 tanks behind this, and yeah, we can't push into the 3rd.
A little bit indecisive here, it seems, from Solar. They get a really nice connection on a lot of Marines, but like you said, those 3 tanks kept everything else alive. Meanwhile, the Lurkers, really huge damage here over in the 5th base of Oliveira, taking out quite a lot of units.
Yeah,
but not enough.
3 lurkers go down. A Viper just went down as well. Oliveira is doing so much with so little. He's been trading Marines for these high-tech units. Looking at the unit count here, we are down to 2 lurkers. These are the only 2 lurkers left in the game. The backbone of Solar's army is no more. He's trying to rebuild his lurker count, but because he's been losing hatcheries, because he's been losing bases, he himself doesn't have the best economy to rebuild this.
Yeah, he is way too broke right now. Like you were saying, Oliveira has been losing Marines, which are super, super cheap, whereas Solar has been losing Vipers, Hydras, and Lurkers, which take quite a lot of gas and minerals to rebuild.
Yeah, exactly. These are just losses that Solar cannot afford. We can see he's really struggling to gather the gas here to rebuild. He does now go up to a more acceptable 5, soon to be 6 lurker count, but Oliveira is pushing out. He doesn't want to give Solar breathing room.
Yeah, especially since in a couple of seconds, in a couple more seconds, Solar's 3-3 is about to finish up.
Yeah, 3-3 on the horizon for Solar. Before that happens, another link counterattack. This 3rd base is left exposed. The army of Oliveira does react.
Yeah, it's not the most important base here for Oliveira, but when you're down to this scrappy of an economy, every single worker counts.
It really does, and this also kind of gives Solar more breathing room to build back up his lurker count. He's got 3 more lurkers on the way, 1 Viper. He did lose 1 earlier, so he has very limited spell capability here, spell casting capabilities, as we do have Oliveira turning back around, and the Banelings up!
Do try to crash in. They do connect with workers and with that planetary fortress, and that was the freshest base of Oliveira. He knows he has to reciprocate, and I honestly think he can win if he just goes for a big counterattack, but easier said than done. Solar does have a decent lurker count out right now, and there's still plenty of Ling Bane out on the map.
Yeah, there were moments where the lurker count was quite low, but now it's getting higher and higher. As time goes on, it's going to get harder to end the game. We do have another Ling counterattack. GG gets called, and Solar takes game number 1. Ooh.
I would just like to remind everybody at around the 15-minute mark, Solar was down to like 3 bases or something like that. Oliveira had a really strong foothold. Actually, not even the 15-minute mark. That was more like the 10-minute mark. I was ready to call this game for Oliveira. We were already calling this game for Oliveira, but yes, I'm not saying that there's that one unit that counters every single Terran player in the world, but somehow Solar was able to turn things around.
Yeah, it was a combination of things, right? Where Solar was able to squeeze out those lurkers in time. On top of that, there was a moment where...
All right, then, well, I'm glad you said it, so I didn't have to.
It was a combination of the lurkers and the Ling run-bys. Honestly, I think it's the Ling run-bys more than anything. Like, they crippled the economy of Oliveira, and they kept making him turn around as well, and they kept splitting his attention. It was in the middle of a big Ling counterattack. That was when Oliveira lost his Liberators, if you recall. He had like 3 Liberators with his army.
Yeah.
They all went down immediately, and after that, like, he didn't have the best anti-lurker army. He almost brought himself back with the drop play, but yeah, Solar did a great job at just giving himself some breathing room and barely holding on against Oliveira.
Yeah, even I have to admit, it wasn't just the lurkers here for Solar. You know, the lurkers kept him alive, but those Viper yoinks, those Ling run-bys, those counterattacks from Solar were what won him the game.
Yeah. Exactly, and with that, that was an intense game 1, and now we have ourselves a game number 2.
Yeah, it was only 17 minutes long, but it felt a lot longer than that, because so much was happening. We didn't even get to the late game, but here we are now on Gresvan. We're in the bottom right-hand corner map, so I want to go all the way. In the bottom right-hand corner, we have our red Terran player coming out from the land of China. He is, of course, going to be representing Dragon Kai Z Gaming. DKG? DKG! We have Oliveira, Hena,
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Gresvan, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing Onside Gaming. Somehow taking game one. Now leading this series 1-0. One game away from advancing on to the next round. It is Solar.
And we were already predicting a very, very close matchup between these two players in game number one. Absolutely delivered on every single count. I would be disappointed if this series didn't go all the way to the ace match, but at the same time, even if it was a 2-0, I'm sure it would be a very close one.
Yeah, I think what I love about game one is that it really showcases the strengths of both players. Like, I think against any kind of lesser player, they would have just died immediately to Oliveira. I don't want to call him out, but, you know, Ragnarok,
Yeah.
like, you know, I think against many of the other...
That's harsh, buddy, you know?
Against many of the other Zerg players out...
It's factual.
Yeah.
It's true.
He just got to
it.
it.
It's still harsh, you know?
But against many of these other top tier Zerg players, they would have crumbled under the might of Oliveira. But Solar, you know, it goes to show like how powerful he is as well. There's a reason why he's one of the best Zerg players in Korea. He alongside Dark, and he is of the caliber, he is of the level of Oliveira where he can go toe-to-toe with him. And it also shows that even though he's down in bases, even though he's down in army supply, you can't count him out. You know, he isn't down for the count then and there. You do have to, you know, finish him off and maintain your lead. Otherwise,
yeah,
Solar will find a way to come back.
Yeah. Solar is the embodiment of I didn't hear no bell.
Exactly.
Can beat him to the edge of defeat. He can be down to one extractor, but he'll still fight on. He'll still say, no, let's go.
Yeah.
I still have an army.
I can do this all day. Mate. Let's go. So, yeah, it shows the tenacity of Solar as well. Maybe even his belief in the power of the Lunker. He knew that once he got a couple of them out, that he was good. He was safe and sound.
Yeah. Look, you don't need to believe when you have facts on your side, you know?
That's true. As we have Oliveira going for a very interesting opener. He actually skipped his SCV scout. He skipped his Reaper scout. He went Marine first instead.
Yeah, Marine first into a reactor, into a bit of an atom swap, and he's still building Marines.
Yeah, exactly. So the goal of these Marines are to catch any stray Overlords, and immediately Solar's pulling them back after spotting those Marines with his first Overlord. He's aware of the threat, and he's just being very careful here, making sure he doesn't get supply blocked early on. Every single Overlord is now on a pillar.
I thought that was a metaphor. I was gonna say that is very deep, but no, literally they are just on top of pillars, so they can't be sniped from the ground. Yeah.
And,
you know what? Overlords, they are the pillar of Zerg armies, you know?
True.
They do keep the rest of the Zerg army alive, literally.
Yeah, they do keep
that
them
supply.
up. On top of that, so unfortunately these Marines don't find any damage. They were hunting Overlords and found nothing. We can even see, I love the Solar, he rotates from one pillar to the other as well. Out of vision, out of sight. Oliver's like, wait, what? where did it go? As he went for a 1-1-1, he delayed his third CC quite heavily, and he's going to be prioritizing this push here, being very aggressive early on.
Yeah, a little bit of a variant to what he did against Ragnarok on the same map. It's not quite as committed. You know, there's no second medevac here. There's no armory, and Oliveira is pushing out before Sim finishes up. But I think this is what he wanted to do against Ragnarok originally. You know, Solar not being as aggressive as Ragnarok was, so Oliveira doesn't need to adjust his play that much.
Yeah, and Oliveira, he looks for some damage. We have the Marine drop into the main base, in towards the third as well, and all that medevac. Oh god! Oh.
It's getting dangerously low, but thankfully it was able to dip out. Boost is off cooldown, by the way, so yeah, that was very, very risky here for Oliveira. Thankfully he is able to keep it alive.
Yeah, and Solar takes no damage. Beautiful defense here from Solar, not overreacting with his queens, making plenty of links early on as well to keep up with the medevac drop. And this does put Oliveira a little bit behind. He delayed his third base to pull this off, to pull off all this aggression. He hasn't achieved much of anything. He's going to get one Overlord.
Oh, but you know what? Yeah. No. Oh. He wants it, Papi. He wants it, and he's gonna get it. What now, Solar? What now? You thought your overlords were safe? Well, I'll tell you what. They still are. But not as safe as previously.
Yeah, out of all of this, Oliveira does get only a single Overlord. He has been very meticulous with his micro, though. If you look at the units lost tab, he's only lost one Marine, so he's been very efficient with his army. But he did set himself behind economically, you know, delaying that third in favor of the aggression. Thankfully, he's still working up towards a bit of a later timing. Stim is now done. +1 is on the horizon.
Yeah, despite Oliveira kind of putting himself behind economically, he is still hitting his timings pretty well. He's still getting his upgrades. Not that delayed, all things considered. He is still able to produce his core units, you know, medevacs and marines. He does have to cut corners somewhere, though, and unfortunately, he doesn't have as solid of a factory production as he would like to have.
Exactly, as he does drop into the main base, a triple drop into the main. We got a lot of links to respond, and no Banelings already yet, but Banelings are just now finishing on up. Gas Geyser gets focused down alongside this Spore Crawler, so we're getting some damage here, even threatening the main base.
Is that Lara gonna go down? No, not quite. Sola takes this very, very seriously as he draws the rest of his army back into the main base. Does leave the periphery bases a little bit more open to harass, but thankfully for Sola, he wasn't mining from them anyway.
Yeah, meanwhile, the drop goes towards the triangular third base as well. As you're saying, only 3 drones go down. The drops are deflected. Solar hasn't lost too much here, but Oliveira isn't done. He's looking to reinforce. He wants to try to snowball out of control.
It is what he does best. If there was anybody who was going to be able to pull that off, it would be Oliveira. I was worried a little bit that he was going for Widow Mine since tanks are too expensive, but considering that Sola is going for pure Lingbane into Lair, this should still be fine.
The drones! Oh god, they're rallying in a little bit too soon, and some of them will go down. The mine!
I wanted that mine to go off so bad, but yeah, Sola was able to figure out that the mines were targeting his drones right at the nick of time. Yeah, so he does pull back.
Only 7 drones go down, but damage is still being done. Oliveira once again keeping the double drop alive, but he has been bleeding out a lot of Marines over time. For the most part, Solar has been able to successfully defend, but Oliveira just isn't done. Again, he's just not allowing Solar to breathe, or at least that's the idea.
And these Marines are very badly stimmed, but thankfully for Oliveira, there is no anti-air apart from Queens, so at the first sign of danger, he can just pick up and rotate around to somewhere else. Sola doing Sola things and going for a huge counterattack.
Yeah, mine shots are going to be going off, and it looks like they will get dragged away. The Banelings roll into the mineral line. There's nothing else left.
Oof, and 11, 14, 22 SCVs go down at the cost of that 4th base. It's all said and done. When it's all said and done, Sola would have been in the better position, if not for the fact that he also lost 16 additional drones behind all of this. So all in all, fairly even.
This is still very scrappy. I mean, Oliveira thankfully has a 4th base surviving this, so he can saturate his bases a little bit faster. We do have the mine drop being cleaned up as well. As you were saying, this is a very chaotic moment. I do think that Sola did come out further ahead, but he did lose his 4th base. So production-wise and even economically, even though he has a really good worker count, he can't mine too efficiently yet. So things are still up in the air.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Oliveira still has a very, very solid army behind all of this. He still has a very, very potent force with his mines and with his marines. Now throwing a couple of tanks into the mix. There are still plenty of opportunities here for Oliveira to pull ahead.
Yeah, definitely, as he only loses 1 Marine in that double drop. He does rotate over towards the 3rd base once again. Earlier, Sola did recognize that, hold up, Oliveira, he's just been sending everything he can at me. He's going to be vulnerable back at home, but at the same time, a mine drop does come into the natural. No reaction!
Yeah. This Overseer is here purely for detection. and it wasn't able to provide any defense. 12 drones go down, and just like that, Oliveira's back in this. Whatever advantage Sola had earlier on is gone.
It isn't just 12 workers going down, it's also these mines surviving as well. The medevac gets the hell out of there, and now Oliveira has the momentum once again. We still have that drop towards the north. Not a lot here, but creep is going to be denied for the time being with what little we have, and Oliveira's focusing on his main push. The Queens
are uber vulnerable. They will somehow survive, but the creep tumors unfortunately will not. Solar is doing Solar things and trying to go for Lingbane Hydra behind all of this. If he survives long enough, he will have an economy to sustain this, and it will be a very potent unit composition if he survives all of this.
Yeah, if he can get into those lunkers, Bobby. We all know what happens then, as we do have the Bio Army being forced to pick up the Lingbane, pushing through the center of the map. We do have mines and tanks waiting for him, though.
Yeah, and this is a very entrenched position here for Oliveira. Solar is kind of brute forcing his way through, but once he realizes that the Bioforce is just way too vulnerable. Banelings crash on through, and Hydras take care of everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Like this game, Oliveira was hyper aggressive. He very rarely had much back at home, and he was not finding the damage that he really needed to. Once again, we have a surround. The natural has been broken. Solo just forcing his way in.
Oliveira fought for his damn life this entire game. Things were looking very, very scrappy, but once Solo was able to hit his final form, once he was able to, get that fourth base up and running, he knew that all he had to do was attack. GG! Sola takes that series 2-0, but very, very close. But he had to work very, very hard for it. GG. It's a 2-0 in favor of Solar, but looking at the two games that we got, I honestly think it could have been a 3-2.
Mm-hmm. I mean, game one was wild. Game one was
insane.
Yeah, Solo was at death's door in game one. Here in game two, it was more of hyper aggression out of Oliveira, and for the most part, Solo was keeping up. Solo, he was minimizing his losses, he was pulling his workers away in time, he was able to deal with the aggression of Oliveira, go for a big counterattack, and even though Solo was taking his own hits, was losing some of his own economy, Solo was still maintaining control of that game. And yeah, just because Oliveira was investing so much into his aggression, he needed to do more damage. Congratulations to Solo as he advances on. My condolences to Oliveira as he is eliminated from the tournament.
Yeah, it's a very brutal tournament that we have here as we just look at the quarterfinals. It looks like Solo will be our first semi-finalist for the evening.